Welcome to the video lecture series on the course named Problem Solving and Programming in C. In this session, we will see programming using nested loops. Let us get started. We will now see what a nested loop is. The term nesting in programming refers to writing a block inside the same block. What do you mean by a block in C program? A block in C program is anything that is written with a pair of flower brackets or a pair of scopes. A pair of flower brackets is also referred as a scope. One of the example of a block can be if block. Writing if block inside another if block is referred to as nested if. If we continue this way of representing, then we can also extend this idea of nesting to the loops. Yes, this forms a nested loop. Similarly, if one loop is written inside another loop, then it is referred to as a nested loop. So what is a nested loop? One loop inside another loop is referred to as a nested loop. It is also possible to nest one form of loop inside another form of loop. We have already seen there are three types of loops that are available in C, namely while, do while and for. So according to this statement, I can write while inside for. I can write for inside do while, so on and so forth. All those possible combinations are valid. Hence it is possible to nest while loop inside for loop. For simplicity sake, in this session we will consider the examples of nested for loops. What are the applications of nested loops is what we are going to see. If we are required to process data that is more than one dimensions, or the data spans across more than one dimension, then nested loops have to be used to process such data. It is important to note that without the use of nested loops, you cannot process the data which has more than one dimensions. You might be asking what are such examples. We had already seen such examples or such data in the previous video lecture. Few examples include representing matrices in mathematics. Because matrices are of two-dimensional nature, each matrix can be represented by rows and columns. Sorting and searching operations. This will be covered in detail in the future video lecture series. Temperature recordings of n cities over m days. Because we can represent this problem as a two-dimensional array, we can use nested loops to solve such problems. Image processing applications, video processing applications, so on and so forth. These are few of the examples wherein we have to use nested loops to solve or to represent such data. Coming to the syntax of nested loops, as I told earlier, I will be restricting myself only to the nested loops using for. You can generalize the same thing for other types of loops. Here I have shown the example of nested loop using for. Note that here I have used one for loop. You can assume the initialization, test condition as well as increment and decrement. Since it's a general syntax, I have not bothered to write the actual statements here. Also note that each logical statements have to be separated with comma inside for. So I will write for, open the flower bracket. So this forms the body of the first for loop. So inside this body, I am again writing one more for loop. This is what we refer to it as nested loops. Inside this, I can again write so many for loops. So this is nested loop because in one for loop I have another for loop. Inside another for loop I have another for loop. Inside another for loop I have another for loop. This went on up to n for loops. The value of n can be very large number. This is the general syntax of nested loops. Now we have to remember a few terminologies associated with this. The for loop which appears the first, or the loop that appears the first, is referred to as outermost loop. So this loop is referred to as the outermost loop. We have another terminology, the loop the which is written last, which is here, or in this case it is nth loop, is referred to as innermost loop. So these two terminologies are very much important. While describing the problems on nested loops, we will be using these terminologies: innermost loop and outermost loop. Outermost loop is the one that is written first, and innermost loop is the one that is written at the last. We also have another set of terminologies which talks about the levels of loop. The outermost loop forms the first level, and also the loop which is written in the innermost part of the loop is referred to as a level n, because it is nth loop. This is said to be in the level n. So if n was 4, this for loop would be at the level 4. Similarly, we have this for loop at level 2. So this is at the nested level 2. And this for loop, which is the first for loop, is said to be present at the level 1. So in general, outermost loop will be at the nested level 1 because it would not be less nested, and the innermost loop would be at the highest nested level possible. Few of the programmers tend to represent this first level instead of level 1, they tend to represent it as level 0 because this is the beginning of the nested loops, so they might represent it as 0. In such scenario, my last level or the highest level would be n minus 1. But however, in this series, I'll be using level starting from the value 1. Please keep this in mind. We'll move to the next slide. Now, if we want to represent the flowchart of nested loop, it works like this. For this flowchart, I am considering only 2 loops, and based on that, I have tried to represent the flowchart. Let us see how this flowchart looks like. Here TC forms the test condition. So this is the first for loop or outermost loop, and if the test condition is true, we have another loop. So it means only when the test condition of the first loop or the outermost loop becomes true, then it enters the body of the first loop and also checks the body of the second loop. So it will check the test condition for the second loop. If the test condition becomes true, the body of the inner loop will be executed, and when that happens, it again loops back to the test condition of the innermost loop. This is a general flowchart of loop. So when the inner body of the inner loop gets executed, it again checks the test condition of the inner loop. This goes on till the test condition of the inner loop becomes false. Now what happens when the test condition of the inner loop becomes false? The control goes to the outermost for loop and checks for the validity of the test condition. If the test condition in the outer loop is true, again the test condition for the inner loop gets checked. If it is true, again it executes. So this cycle repeats until this test condition becomes false, and then when finally the test condition of the outer loop becomes false, the control will totally come out of the outermost loop or outer loop. So this executes again and again till the test condition of the outer loop becomes false. So when it becomes false, it executes the next statement outside the loop. So this entire block can be represented or thought of as flowchart representation of nested loop. Here I have represented for only two loops. Similarly, we can represent it for more than two loops. So this is the representation of the outermost loop. This is the representation of innermost loop. I hope with this you are able to understand how nested loops works. Now having seen the flowchart representation of nested loops, let us see this with one sample example. Let us consider the following code. Here I am restricting myself only to the two loops, so this outermost loop and the innermost loop. Now we have I tried to specify the all the conditions inside the for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 3, I plus plus. In the innermost for loop, j equal to 1, j less than or equal to 3, j plus plus. Before looking into how this works, let us try to ask ourselves few questions. How many times the outermost loop gets executed? You might have already guessed, because the test condition is I less than or equal to 3, and I am starting I from 1. So in the first iteration I is 1, then it checks the test condition. Because test condition is true, it executes the body of the loop. After executing the body of the loop, I gets incremented by 1, I becomes 2. Now it will check whether 2 less than or equal to 3 becomes true, again executes the body of the loop, then increments the test condition, increments the initialized variable I becomes 3, so 3 less than or equal to 3, which is again true, again executes the body of the loop. This time I becomes 4, so 4 is not less than or equal to 3, it comes out. So the answer for this question, how many times the outermost loop gets executed? The answer is 3 times. How many times the innermost loop gets executed? Here you might notice, once the test condition for the outermost loop becomes true, it executes the body of the outermost for loop. What is the body of the outermost for loop? The body of the outermost for loop is the inner loop itself. So what happens? For one execution of outer loop, because the inner loop executes, if you think that this for loop was written independently without nested loop, assume that this loop was not there, assume that this loop is not there. If it was an independent loop, then how many times it would have executed? Yes, it would have executed 3 times. So now try to imagine this. It is a part of a inner loop now. So independently it executes 3 times. So for one execution of the outer loop, it executes 3 times. This is the answer for this. How many times the nested loop gets executed in total? We have the answer here. Independently outer loop executes 3 times. Independently inner loop executes 3 times. So in total it is 3 into 3, which is 9 times. So in general, so in this example, it executes 9 times. This is the answer. So let us see the answers for each questions. The answer for the first question is outermost loop executes 3 times. The answer for second question is for one execution of outer loop, the inner loop executes 3 times. The answer for the last question is in total the nested loop executes 9 times. Why it is 9 times? 9 times because it is 3 into 3. So in general, if instead of 3 it was m and instead of this 3 it was n, how many times in total the loop gets executed? Yes, it is m into n times. Please remember this fact, it is very important. Moving on to the next. Now I have a suggested activity for you. Here we have 3 nested loops. This is the innermost loop. This is the outermost loop. Can you try to find the answers for these questions? How many times the outermost loop gets executed? How many times the innermost loop gets executed? And how many times the nested loop gets executed in total? Please try to find the answer for this and put your answers in the comment section. Next, we will discuss few programs on nested loops. With respect to nested loops, we will consider two types of programs. The first type of programs will be of pattern generation in nature. Second type will be real world problems. This will be covered in the next video. So in this video, we will only stick to the generating patterns, and real world problems will be covered in the next or future videos. We will now try to write separate C programs that produce the following outputs. We will try to solve these four, we'll try to write the programs for these 4 patterns. So our goal is to write separate programs. When executed, it should produce these output. I will now switch over to Linux operating system and will demonstrate the programs. I am now in Fedora operating system. We will now try to write the program that generates this pattern. If you observe this pattern keenly, you would notice that this pattern consists of star symbols arranged in 4 rows and 4 columns. So if you are trying to write programs on patterns like this, you need to identify how many rows and how many columns are to be processed. This problem definition is straightforward because it produces exactly 4 rows and 4 column output. So in total it will produce 16 star symbols. Let us get started. I'll name this program as pattern1.c. Let me start typing the code. Int main. Now, if you observe from this problem definition, what you would notice is, since the pattern contains 4 rows and 4 columns, and we know that this pattern has rows and columns in it, hence it has to be executed via a nested loop. So let us try to interpret this as a nested loop. I will have to have two loops. So I will take two variables, I for the outer loop and the value j for the inner loop. Next, since the program is a static program, what do I mean by static program? The output produced by this program is fixed. Hence, there is no input for this program. We only need to produce the output, which is the pattern which is generated based on the program definition. So there is no scanf statement for this program, as the program does not have any input, and we know that we need to produce 4 star symbols in each row. So I will take the outer loop starting from 1. Since I need to produce 4 star symbols, I will navigate this, or my test condition for outer loop will be less than or equal to 4, I plus plus. My inner loop will be j equal to 1, j less than or equal to 4, j plus plus. Now we will quickly recollect what was considered for the syntax of nested loops. We know that this outer loop works 4 times, or it executes 4 times, and we also know that for one execution of outer loop, the inner loop executes, because the test condition is j less than or equal to 4, it executes 4 times. So let me try to write the printf. I will just write star symbol with a space, y space, because after each star I must insert a space. Now I'm going to end the for and also end the outer loop. So this is referred to as inner loop. Can you tell me at what level this inner loop is? Nested level. This is at the nested level 2. This is referred to as an outer loop. And it is at the nested level 1. So let us try to execute this program. As I already told, this program does not have any input, it only produces the output. Let me compile this program. Let me run it. What did I get it? The answer that I was expecting was this, but the answer that I got is this. Does the answer match with the expected output? No. Let us see why it is so. So if you count the number of stars that are produced, it is exactly 16 stars. But the problem is, all those 16 stars have been printed in a single row. I must have a way in which after each star, after the printing of 4 stars, I will go to the next line and then generate next 4 set of stars, followed by again next line 4 set of stars, followed by again next line 4 set of stars. Let's try to include this in our problem, or modify the code to include this requirement. Also we noticed, or we already noted, that for one execution of the outer loop, inner loop executes 4 times. And also, since it executes 4 times, in one go, it will print 4 stars with a space in between them. When it prints stars, 4 stars, the condition of the inner loop becomes false, because by that time j would become 5 and 5 less than or equal to 4 would be false. So it will come out of the inner loop, and as we had seen in the slides, it will execute the next iteration of the outer loop. In this case it will be 2. This goes on till the outer loop's test condition becomes false. So what we are interested here is, once the inner loop produces 4 stars, I must insert a \n or an enter. How this can be done? This is done only after the inner loop. After the inner loop executes, it would have printed 4 stars with spaces. I will introduce a new line symbol like this. Now with this simple modification, let us see how the program generates the output now. As you can see here, this is the exact output that I was expecting. I hope now you understood how the nested loops works. This is a very trivial example, and it also proves that each star, each set of 4 stars represents one full execution of the innermost loop, and there are such 4 successful executions of the innermost loop. So how many times the outermost loop executed? 4 times. Each row represents the execution of the outermost loop. So how many times in total the loop got executed? 16 times, because there are 16 stars which have been printed. Now moving on to the next problem definition. In the next problem definition, it is same as the first, except instead of printing star, I am supposed to print the numbers. In each row I am supposed to print one number. In the next I must increment that number, same thing till all the patterns are generated, or all the 4, till it produces the output of the 4th row. You might have already guessed, I need not have to write a separate program for this. I can easily modify this program to make this work. Now what I am interested here is, I am not interested in printing stars, rather I am interested in printing a value, and that is integer value. So after printing that integer value, I will go to the next line. Now you might guess what variable value or what variable name I should specify here after the comma. You might have guessed it. That value is I, because in each iteration of the inner for loop, the value of j keeps on changing. However, the value of I remains same till this innermost loop executes. The execution goes like this: when I is 1, 1 less than or equal to 4 is true. Hence, innermost loop executes j equal to 1, which is 1 less than or equal to 4. Note that the value of I is still 1. Then it executes printf. J becomes 2, 2 less than or equal to 4, true. Prints again the printf, followed by j becomes 3, 3 less than or equal to 4, true. 4 less than or equal to 4, true. 5 less than or equal to 4, false. Note that in each execution of the inner loop, which is 4 times, the value of I has remained same, which is 1. And our output requires us to use, or requires us to print, ones in the first row, twos in the second row, threes in the third row, and fourth in the 4s in the fourth row. So the problem is again trivial. Just replace the value, just include the value of I in the printf instead of star. Let us see whether this works. As you can see here, the problem clearly works. Now, a small offline exercise. What if I want the output to be produced like this? Can you guess it? Please write the solution or provide the answer for this in the comment section. I will now revert back this to the original problem definition. So this is my solution for the second problem definition. Now coming back to the third problem definition, this can also be solved provided we have understood the second and the first problem definitions clearly. So again I'm going to use the same program to modify the program to make it work for third problem definition. Now to make this understanding of third problem definition more clear, let us try to represent how this nested loop can be represented in a matrix form. It can be represented like this. Each cell of this table can be thought of as one execution of the outermost and innermost loop. This is one row. It means in the first cell the value of I will be 1, j will be 1. Since j executes 4 times for one execution of I, so you can see here in this entire row the value of I has remained same, but the value of j has remained or it has changed. So what does this each row in this table represents? It represents one full execution of inner loop when one execution of outer loop. This repeats for the remaining conditions, remaining values of I and j, so on and so forth. So 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4, 2 1, 2 2, 2 3, 2 4, 3 1, 3 2, 3 3, 3 4, 4 1, 4 2, 4 3, 4 4 represent the intermediate state of the values of I and j when they are in a nested state. Now to produce this pattern, what we want is in the first row I want to produce only one output. It means the output of these three executions of the inner for loop should not be printed. In the next iteration I must print 1 and 2, means in the next iteration I should print only these two. Third iteration I will print this. Second iteration I will print 3, 2, fourth iteration, third iteration 3, as well as the last iteration I will print all the values. I'll print all the values. How can this be done? As from the previous problem definition, since this output or this pattern follows the previous pattern, only thing is few output from each row are omitted, like these three ones followed by these two twos, and this 1 3 is omitted from this. So what you can observe from this table is that how can I now omit in the first execution these three rows or these three values? What you would observe here is in this row the value of I is 1, j is 1. In the second cell of the first row the value of I is 1, j is 2, I is 1, j is 3, I is 1, j is 4. In the second row I is 2, j is 1, I is 2, j is 2, I is 2, j is 3, I is 2, j is 4. Are you able to get some pattern out of it? You can expect this pattern whenever I is greater than or equal to j. In such cell, you print the value of I. I will repeat, whenever the value of I is greater than or equal to j, in such cell, you just print the value of I. What do you mean by that? Or can we find out which are all the cells whose value of I is greater than or equal to j? In the first cell, is j greater than, is I greater than or equal to j? Yes, it is. So I'm going to highlight it here. I is greater than or equal to j. In this case, is I greater than or equal to j? No, it is not. So I'm not supposed to consider it. Is I greater than or equal to j? No. So all these three cells in this first row, they do not satisfy this condition. Now let us see how many cells in the second row satisfy this condition. I is to j is 1. Yes, I is greater than or equal to j. So this satisfies this condition. So print the value of I. Here I is equal to j, so it satisfies this condition. Print the value of I. These two obviously do not satisfy that condition, so it will omit. In the third row, all these three consecutive cells satisfy this condition, hence I must consider them. Only one condition which fails is the last cell of the third row, which is 3 and 4. And if you observe in the last row, all four cells of the fourth row satisfy this condition. Now, if I only consider I, the value of I, you already have the output of this. So let us quickly write this program. Instead of writing, I'll simply modify. So I am simply conditionally printing the value of I, and the condition is the value of I should be greater than or equal to j. Once this happens, then only print the value of I. Let us compile this program, run it. There you have it. This is the output. Now, the fourth problem definition is very trivial. You could have already guessed the modification required for this program. Instead of printing I just need to print star. That's it. I'm going to compile it, run this program. There you have it. This is the output I got, and this is the one that I was expected to have. Now you can just play around with this condition. Try to specify the different value for this test condition inside this if. Just see what pattern you get it. Having seen the execution of those programs, now I have a suggested activity for you. Try to write separate C programs that produce the following outputs. Please try to write separate individual programs that produce these four outputs. You can take the programs that were discussed in this video as a reference and try to modify those programs to generate these type of output. Such programs are referred to as patterns. Thank you.